Hi, this is Tammy back with another true ghost story of my life. In my grandma's house. It's all about my grandma's house. I mean, there was a lot of weird things that happened there, but there is just one in particular time. My grandma went up to Peoples, Ohio, and she was spending the weekend there. So she had like three dogs, and so we was dog sitting. Well, my grandma lived in they're called shotgun houses, which they're long, they're deep, long, tall, like 3 stories. Well, my mom went to bingo one night and she was like, "Well, Tammy, you're gonna have to go over and let the dogs out around 7." And I was like, "Okay." She said, "Well, you're gonna have to wait till they go to the bathroom and make sure they come back in and make sure you lock the doors." I said, "Okay." So it got to be about 7 o'clock. It was dark out. And so I had to walk through the railroad tracks and up her road, which she lived on Amore Road, Amore Place. And so I got up to the house and it was already creepy because, the only light that was on was the outside light and the kitchen light, which the kitchen was in the back of the house. So you couldn't see a light on from the road. So I unlock the door. The dogs are barking. I go in. They're jumping and happy to see me. And they knew why I was there. They knew I was going to let them out to go to the bathroom. Well, I go back to the kitchen. Now there is a door in the kitchen that leads out to the hallway, which they called a breezeway back then, to where the steps went up to the second floor and the third floor. Well, I went ahead and let the dogs out the back door. So I was waiting around, waiting around. So about that time, I was going through the breezeway, going back into the kitchen door that entered through the kitchen. All of a sudden, I heard the rubber mats on my grandma's steps, and each rubber mat was individual on each step, all the way up to the third floor. The rubber mats on the steps flapped. They all flapped up like there was a gust of wind that just went all the way up the steps, all the way up to the attic steps. Now, this is after the door was already closed. If it was, say it was from a gust of wind, let's just per se, it would have done it when I closed the door. It wouldn't have waited, like a 10-second, pause there, and then all of a sudden they did it. Well, it scared me to death. So I thought it was maybe one of my cousins because they could enter her house just as I did. And I'm thinking maybe they was over there to let the dogs out or something, and they just seen me coming or heard me coming in the door and ran up the steps to mess with me. So I'm yelling, "Who's up there? Which one of you all's up there?" Nobody answered, of course. So as I was going on through to the kitchen, because I was scared, and the dogs started barking. So I had to turn around, go back into the breezeway to the back door and let the dogs in. Well, I let the dogs in. Well, I started closing the door fast and slamming it just to see if the rubber mats would, react like a gust of wind, or was it because of the doors? I would even wait for that 10-second pause to see okay, maybe it's a draft, I don't know. I was just experimenting at that point. Well, the rubber mats never did it. Nothing. So the dogs ran into the kitchen, and I'm still kind of, leery, thinking it's one of my cousins up there trying to, scare me. Well, I just said, "Who's up there? Who's up there?" I said, "You all need to come on and quit it. Who's upstairs?" I said, "I know you all is messing with me." So about that time, I heard it went like this. I said, "What the heck?" And I heard it again. Man, I took off through the kitchen door, slammed the door, took off running down through the living room and went out the front door and was booking all the way home. So I waited till my mom to come home. That was around 10:30. So I was telling my mom what happened over there. And my mom is the major one to tell you all the things that happened in this house because she grew up in this house. So she was like, well, did you lock the doors? And I know I didn't lock the front door. And I didn't know for sure if I locked the back door. I couldn't remember. And she was like, well, come on. We're going to walk over there. I said, I'm not going back over there. She said, walk over there with me, Tammy. I said, all right. So I walked over. We got to the door. Dogs are barking again. And we walk in. Of course, the front door wasn't locked. So my mom goes walking in the back through the kitchen to go check the back door where the breezeway is, where the steps are with the rubber mats. Well, I didn't lock the back door either. So my mom, you know, she was just playing around with me. I take it now that I'm older. She was like, who's up there? Who's up there? And started walking up the steps. Now, mind you, there was no light on these steps, and I could not tell you why there wasn't a light on these steps. But she's walking up in the steps in the dark, talking about, oh, who's ever up here? You can come out and talk. It's just me, Bessie. And I said, Mom, you are crazy. What are you doing? I said, I'm leaving. I'm leaving right now. I'm leaving right now. You're going to have to walk home by yourself. And she's laughing, coming back down the steps and everything. Well, as soon as she hit the bottom of the steps, we heard it again, both of us. It went. We both took off running. You hear me? Out the house, out the front door. My mom even skirted back to lock the door and slammed the door. And as we was walking home, she started telling me about all the things that happened in my grandma's house. We got home and we stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning. And we was talking about all the things that happened in this house. And to this day, I will not enter that house after dark. Thank you, and please subscribe and like.